Is it possible to actually make money from trading Forex? Here's the mistake that most people make when they dive into the world of Forex trade. You tend to overestimate the power or the impact of one single trade, and you underestimate the power of consistency and a long-term proven strategy. Your first trade might not be big. Your second trade might not be big. Even your 10th trade might not hit a home run. But there is something about having executed your strategy consistently over and over again. You do that 100 times and you're way ahead of anyone who hasn't even started. And now for all of those that haven't even started because they're scared to take a loss or to make just $5 or $2, that means you're actually afraid of opening a trade because you might take a loss or you might make just bare pips, but you are okay with not trading at all and having zero. Now, I always say this: you cannot fall if you don't climb, but there is no point in living your whole life on the ground. Now, my trade of the week was this trade on US30, which was a simple breakout and a retest that any beginner trader can actually use, and this is how it went. All right, team, so we just had a really great breakout and we're looking at US30 right now, and I've just placed a limit order. I've just shared it in the inner circle, and what I'm expecting is, in the next, let's say 30 minutes or 45 minutes or so, for US30 to drop back and come to our limit order. So what we're kind of doing right now is setting up, just setting our trap and letting the market play out, letting the market come to us, and then we're going to enter the trade. So nothing crazy. We're just going to wait and see where the market takes us. All right, quick update, guys. It's been about 45 minutes and things have changed a little bit. So let's go on the chart. As you can see right here, we are getting a very strong rejection at these key levels, right? The buyers are definitely stepping in and they're stepping in really hard. So this is very important because of this shift that we just had. We just see the buyers stepping in right now. I'm no longer waiting for my initial limit order. This is what you always want to do. You should be able to make situational analysis on any setup of your choice. My limit order is already off the table right now. Why? Because I've seen the buyers stepping into the market at a very crucial level. It's come back for a retest. I've told my whole team that we're going in for the buy on US30 right now. All right, so the basis of this move is a simple 1, 2, 3 trend line touch, and we waited for a breakout right at this level and then a crucial retest. As you can see, the retest is playing out really nicely before us, giving us that confirmation, and we can see that the momentum is really fresh and is ready to keep pushing up, to the upside. And as I'm making these live calls for my inner circle, I am also pushing this exact analysis out in the free signal group as we speak. I sent them the whole breakout before it actually even played out fully. If you want to see these as they happen, just make sure you join. The link is in the description below. And all right, fast forward to a few hours later. As you can see, we have absolutely crushed it. That trade ran perfectly, hitting our first and second take profit targets, giving us a sweet 250 pips, as you can see right here on the screen. And this is a massive win for the day. I'd actually call it a day for this one. Let's just see how it keeps playing out. Now, of course, I immediately updated the inner circle on that 250 pip move, and because of the strong momentum that we had, I had to hold the trade overnight, which played out really great. Because when we woke up the next morning, just look at this, we were up 350 pips for the day before we had this crazy drop that we are seeing right here on US30 that was going to be spoken about during the weekly analysis. Now, if you're new, find the channel for the first time, welcome. We trade the NASDAQ over here. If you're returning, welcome back here. You know what's up. Don't forget to hit that like button, turn your post notifications, and subscribe to the channel. Now, first things first, we have to check out the economy calendar before we dive into this week's, analysis, and that sets up the tone for the entire week, right? So I'm pulling it up right now, and right off the bat, we have on Tuesday at 15:30 the Fed chair, Mr. Powell, speaking. That's already 3 bullhead news, and you know what that means. That's huge volatility for the US dollar, and it can give us a potential direction bias, right? So this is our major event that we're going to be looking at. And then on Thursday, also at 15:30, initial jobless claims. That's also another big one, right? And then followed by a flurry of other key data like the PMI and new home sales throughout Wednesday and Thursday. So we're going to expect serious action during the week. Good good volatility. That means that the week is going to be good. Now let us go onto the charts and dive right into the weekly analysis. All right, we might as well start off with US30. As you can see, let's just clear everything that we have. But this is another classic example of a breakout. You saw a breakout, and those traders that want to wait for a definite retest, this is what it looks like. You know, that textbook example where you really have a trend line breakout, like this breakout and a retest. What we traded was the breakout of this candle and then the retest of the next candle, which a lot of traders don't do that, right? A lot of traders want to trade this breakout and this retest, which is also good, but then setup, a lot of people can totally see it, and that's what will make it a bit risky right now. What we want to do here is to mark up our support and resistance levels. Obviously, this is going to be our support. Why? Because of this great rejection that we just had, and then we also have another support right at this level. Why? Because of the breakout, and then it has come back to retest that support that it broke out of. And then what is our resistance is going to be right at this level. We could take this level right here and obviously this level. They want to go and see what's happening on the all-time highs, right? So that's going to be on the daily time frame. Remember, I said that I am really hoping for US32, predicting, not hoping. We don't hope in trading, right? So I'm predicting that US30 would go to the all-time highs and break out of it, just like what NASDAQ is doing, right? So that's my bias. So these are the levels that I'm looking at on US30, and obviously I'm going to be guided by a trend line, right? That tells me that we're still on an uptrend, but then you should be able to interpret the trend line, right? It hasn't been completed, which makes it very tricky. There's a chance that the market would want to come back to this level to tap on the trend line and come to these zones. So when you're a day trader and you're trading on a daily basis, you always want to keep this in mind. You always want to go back on the daily time frame to see what is the daily close, what is the daily open, all of those things, so that you are not just biased on the smaller time frame and ignoring the bigger picture, which is going to be on the higher time frames. So on the larger time frames, that's what we're having. Let's go over onto the 4-hour time frame. Let's see what US30 is saying for us. All right, so these are our levels. We've had them marked up, and obviously, at these levels you expect the market to react, right? It's either going to break out or it's going to reject. That's simple. That's what the levels mean, right? So as we can see right now, it came to this support. It's kind of like retesting right now. It's rejected a little bit, and we're going to see how this candle closes, and then the next candle here. If it holds, then it's a good trade to actually ride it up to the next zone. US30 doesn't look complicated, and also remember we have this trend line here, so it's more like a break retest. It has good confluence, so US30 is absolutely looking good right now for those that want to ride it up. This doesn't mean that this setup should hold. You now have to look at the size of your account, manage your risk as usual properly, so that you keep in mind that there's a chance that it can go back to this trend line or come back to retest or even disrespect this whole setup entirely, right? That's the whole point of making an analysis. So US30 is not looking complicated. What is looking complicated is the NASDAQ. Do you know why? Because NASDAQ keeps shooting up to all-time highs, and it's making it very difficult for those that are not in the trade already to actually get a good setup. Right, we're going to start off by marking our resistance level, which is right there. This is a support level. You know why? Because this was a most recent high that was broken out of, and it is coming back to get retested, right? But then the thing about this NASDAQ trade is we have a lot of levels at the exact same zone right now because of this zone here. These are all levels. Now, if you have a lot of levels like this, you always want to increase the time frame so that you can filter out a lot of things and reduce the noise that's happening, right? So if we do this, if we go on to a larger time frame on the NASDAQ, the weekly is too much, right? We don't have data at all. So if we go on to, let's say, the daily time frame, let's delete everything so it makes more sense. All right, we'll have this level, which is the first one, this one right here, and then we'll have this one where it rejected, so it kind of like broke out of this area, but then you can see the full rejection is right at this week. So at this area, it's a really crazy zone because look at this, we had the buyers and the sellers also playing a really crazy game right now. Notice, let's just zoom it out a little so we explain. Look at what's happening here. So NASDAQ got to this level, it broke out of this level. This is the all-time highs once upon a time, and then the sellers stepped in so much, right? They couldn't just let the market keep going higher. They stepped in and pushed the market down, but they couldn't keep pushing it lower. So what they did is they pushed it to this level, and the buyers got to this support zone and they pushed it right back. But when the buyers pushed it back, they gave another bullish momentum candle, which now shows that the buyers are still in control. Yes, they are actually dominating this market because of those two candlesticks. Just looking at those two candlesticks, you can be able to make a whole analysis right now. Then the next thing is going to be our all-time highs, which is right over there. Then this will be our three levels that we want to look at when we are trading the NASDAQ, right? So obviously for a day trader, that's a lot. That's too far, right? For a day trader, those levels are actually too far. But then you have to be really patient with the NASDAQ for it to come to these levels. For it to actually drop back to these levels, and then we can try and look for a trade. Even though if it gets to this level, there's a high chance that it can get swept out. As you can see, we already have a lot of equal lows at this zone here, so that is building up, more of liquidity in that area. But that's the zone that I want to start looking at for the NASDAQ to see if I can get a nice trade. Normally in these cases, when I don't know where to actually trade, that's when I use my Fibonacci tool. I really don't take it out a lot. I don't use the Fibonacci a lot, but then there are times where it's actually needed. And as you can see, if I take out my Fibonacci from that movement that we had on the NASDAQ, my next level is going to be really far away. That's already the breakout and the retest. You see, it's going to be the retest of the all-time highs, and that's a long time, right? That's a long time. So let me see if I try on a lower time frame to use the Fibonacci. But then this is when you are really desperate for a trade, right? Which is not good. You don't want to always do that. You want to be patient and wait for the market to come to you. So if I use this, then this area here could be a good zone. And if you notice what that area is, it's also a support area, right? Remember, we broke out of that area. I marked it up on the lower time frame. You see, it's a breakout here and then a retest. It's a new support. So it could come back to this 50% level, retest it. And that's if we don't really have a trade at all on all of the other charts. We'll now look at that level and probably take it up from there with the Fibonacci. Let's go over to gold. Let me see what gold is saying. I wanted to trade gold, right? So I gave this setup in the free signal group on gold. Everyone who saw the setup should have taken the trade because it was an absolutely good one. A simple trend line rejection, right? I think it was somewhere here before the market closed. This trade right here, I gave it as soon as it tapped on the trend line, and then I said, who is buying gold? In fact, let's just look to see if I'm not capping on that, right? So where is that? In the free group. Obviously in the free group, that is where I dropped this before anything else. This is gold, right? As you can see, this is the setup. As soon as gold came into this area, the trend line rejection, you see a good rejection on the lower time frames, you would enter the trade. But what I was looking at and why I didn't enter the trade is I was expecting it to break out and take out a lot of people first, before it actually then moves. But I said, who is buying gold? And anyone who saw that as a good setup should have taken it right at this level and then rode it up to the top. So for gold, that's already a missed setup that we had. I was actually looking for gold to come to this area, then we can buy it up to the top. Now what we're looking at is obviously the trend line and this area of resistance that we have here. This area, it doesn't look too good, right? Because you can see how many times the market has tried to break out of this area and then it keeps getting rejected. As you can see, it went up, it got rejected again. Now it's trying again to go up. Will it get rejected again for this time in the long run, right? That is highly unlikely. I think it will just break out now and then, go to this next level, right? So for gold, that's simply what we want to see. Want to see it breaking out of that area and then coming to this zone. As for a trade on gold, I really don't think I can see a setup yet. Why? Because of this level that I just marked up, right? So you want the market to come first to break out of this area, and then if it breaks out of this area, it's already in another resistance zone, which is right here. You don't think you can buy it here or sell it because it's still on an uptrend. You don't even know if it's going to reject or still go up. But you also can't buy it right now at this level because where will you place your stop loss? It's just a random place, right? So it's either waiting for it to come back to the trend line and then seeing a rejection here, which it might also just come into this zone as a support, and then we ride it up to the top, or we wait for it to come into these zones and then break out of this area and then we can write it up to probably these all-time highs, because there's nothing that will be holding, you know, the market at that level. So that was a quick analysis. That's about it. Nothing too complicated for this week. If you found this breakdown helpful and you did enjoy the video, don't forget to hit that like button, turn your post notifications, and subscribe to the channel. You feel me? With that, it's been Tino, and I'll see you in the next lit video. Love you guys.